Yes, another 760 deaths in the last 24 hours in Italy, Mark, up on yesterday's figure of 727, bringing the new total of lives lost in Italy to 13,915, so nearly 14,000 lives lost since the 21st of February. In terms of cases, that's grown to more than 115,000 from 110,000 yesterday, more than 4,500 new cases of infection, around the same number that we saw yesterday, Mark. It does suggest that the number of new infections is plateauing. Of course, that's what this lockdown intends to do. Not all bad news, despite the very high number of people still losing their lives on a daily basis, and there remains around 4,000 people still in a critical condition in intensive care. We've also, of course, had the numbers out for Spain today as well, a record number of 950 lives lost in Spain in the last 24 hours. That's around the same as the number of lives lost on the worst day in Italy, which happened last Friday, if I'm not mistaken, second only to the number of lives lost in America, the biggest in Europe, 950 deaths for Spain in the last 24 hours. Their new total, more than 10,000. And the number of infections, the number of deaths in Spain continues to grow at a sharper rate than in Italy. They're around 5 days behind Italy in terms of this lockdown. They believe the rate of infection is now beginning to slow very slightly, but we're going to need to see that maintained on a day-on-day basis before we know that the lockdown is truly working there. That said, there is hope here in Italy, Mark, that they can soon move on to the next phase of this crisis. The lockdown has been extended until the 13th of April, so just beyond Easter. And we've been given some news that there are suggestions that they will lift the lockdown incrementally, generation by generation. So the youngest generations will be allowed out of the house first. In fact, that the rules were relaxed for families yesterday. Parents are now allowed to take their children out for a short walk after 3 weeks confined to their homes. And the government is looking tomorrow to decide on what happens to schools. They've been off now since the 5th of March, and it looks like they may not go back until September, almost all of the school year gone. Extraordinary times, not just for Italy, but for Europe, for the US, for much of the world